Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village. The award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007. Find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com. Ike Eisenhower State Farm. Ike and his award-winning team have been serving the insurance needs of folks all around Hot Springs Village since 1998. Ike has qualified for State Farm's President's Club, Chairman's Circle, and Hot Springs Village Insurance Agent of the Year. Call Ike Eisenhower State Farm today at 501-984-4100. That's 501-984-4100. Find them online at ikeeisenhower.net. Call them today for all your insurance needs because, like a good neighbor, Ike Eisenhower State Farm is there.
I'm thinking there's not a lot of Thanksgiving break. I'm thinking there's just working all the time. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's typically everybody's. Everybody kind of just works all the time.
Man, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we were going to start. I'm already recording, but let's let it roll, okay?
Yes, sir.
Here with Mr. Bodie and Mr. Steele with Disaster Masters, guys that have a name like that. Why would I call you guys, right?
You're right. I mean, and if you have a disaster, you need a master.
Is that what that is? Is that what
Yes,
that
sir.
is? If I need a disaster, I need a recovery is what I need. That's
exactly.
What I need.
But if you have a disaster in your house, you need a master of disasters to come in there, and that's where the name Disaster Masters.
I like that. Mr. Bodie on the left, Mr. Steele on the right. Great to see you guys again today. We called the other day, just an initial, hey, how you doing? Next thing you know, we're on a Zoom and we're chatting about doing a show like this. So we're happy to have you. I know there's such a variety of things that Disaster Masters does. I want to come down to a couple of things and then expand back out from there. So I go into a home here in the village. Typically, so many of them are built as a walkout, okay, where we've got a beautiful top story, but we got a kind of a basement walkout type thing. It smells kind of musty. It smells kind of moldy. The last people that were there, it's just a couple that is looking to sell it. And they had all this space downstairs and they just shut off the vents and left off the HVAC for a while. And we may or may not have a problem, right, Mr. Bodie, right?
You may and you may not. So a lot of times what we can provide is we can provide an air quality test. We can provide an inspection of the home if there is mildew or mold or any of those types of natures, anything growing. Typically, we can provide a inspection for. And a lot of times, what we like to recommend is, especially out in basements and stuff, a possible dehumidifier in the basement will help out tremendously in that those types of atmospheres from keeping that stuff from growing.
So let's say we've got mildew and we're going to stop it first, okay? But you're going to keep the humidity under 50% as a rule, right? Air stirring, that kind of thing. But I've got mold just sitting there. I'm just going to go downstairs with Bodie and I'm going to take some Windex and just squirt it good, like Steele does all the time, or some Windex, some Clorox, and I'm just going to squirt it good and it'll all go away, right? Right, Steele? No?
Probably not.
No. So we always recommend, if it's like a little bit of surface mold or something, we like to tell our customers, or if people call up here and say, look, what you need to go do is you can go to Home Depot and you can find mold remover, stain remover bottles at Home Depot or Lowe's, whatever you prefer. But we tell them to typically We like to HEPA-vac our stuff, vacuum it off. You like to vacuum those little mold spores, or you can wipe them off, but you need to spray it immediately. And then you need to discard that stuff immediately so the spores don't spread.
Whoa, spores, but I've just got this black stuff on the wall. What are you talking about, spores?
So mold has got these little growing spores. They almost look like a little blackheads, I'd like to call them. You can see them when you get up close to it, and they're just there. But that's the mold spores growing on your wall, and you have to get rid of the mold spores in order to get rid of the mold.
Okay, so I see mold on the wall somewhere downstairs.
Mhm.
So that means it's in the air, right? Or is it undisturbed, or what?
Yes and no. It depends on if you have an active, if you have a lot of moisture in your basement, and you're seeing it spread at a rapid pace because of the humidity and the heat, and this change in variance of temperature. What you can do is you can typically yes and no. That's where air quality test would come into place, but also you definitely need to get that removed pretty quick, irregardless of all mold is bad mold, in my opinion. Like, there's not a healthy mold to have. Like, you want to get rid of it as fast as you can.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I'm sandbagging a little, frankly. I am a human mold detector. I can walk in and tell you got pre-mold, it's stale, it's pregnant. I can smell it. I mean, because I'm so allergic to it, as a lot of people are, right?
Correct.
So, okay, tell me the best time to call Disaster Masters in an instance like this. When I'm buying a new house, or I just want an inspection, or what should I do?
Really, anytime is the best time, in our opinion. For if you're buying a new house, selling a new house, renting a house. Well, anytime you're renting a house, you typically notify the homeowner, the person that actually owns the house, and then they call us, and we go out there and do an inspection. But anytime is fine.
Well, how common is, I've heard people talk about radon gas too, and I know, the hot water springs down in Hot Springs, they've got radon in them. Do we have that reasonably occurring in homes in the Hot Springs Village area and Hot Springs?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say a lot of it is just Arkansas is just a humid state, right? When it's summertime, and I'd say summer's 8 months out of the year here. So you can bet, with the high humidity and everything, that you're going to have some growth, and you're going to have a lot of moisture. We get a lot of rain. Whenever we get a lot of rain, it all comes up through the ground, and then you have these incidences where these people have basements, right? Well, just like for your instance, you have a basement. Well, whenever you're 7 foot over the natural water table, and all that water it's got to go somewhere, right? So you have moisture and everything just all around your concrete and your basement. So that at the end of the day, what ends up happening is your crawl space or your basement becomes part of the water. It's built into the water table at that point.
Now,
so you have moisture that comes through, and you have to get it taken care of.
Well, so give me and I know the list of your services are a little lengthier than we can even go into today, but I've got a bare dirt basement. I don't like the mildew or the mold or the mildew, the humidity down there. I run a dehumidifier all the time, and I'm trying to keep it under 50%, but I just can't really get ahead of it. Do you guys encapsulate basements?
We do. We encapsulate basements. We also, what we like to do is put 10 mil plastic down if you have a dirt floor, to keep the ground and the moisture barrier down, so we can make sure that moisture ain't coming through.
I wish, and I got to ask Steele, did you wear the shirt today? Did you wear the shirt?
I did not.
He did not.
I did not.
I was asking one day when we met earlier and we talked, I said, so, what do you use? And you were talking about some of the peroxide and some of the really strong licensed chemicals that y'all get to use, right? And Steele turned around and he had a black shirt on. It had big white spots on the back of it. And I'm like, wow. And he said, yeah, that's through a hazmat suit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the things y'all use are not to be played with, is what I'm getting at, right?
Correct. We have stuff that will take out the heavy stuff.
You think?
Absolutely. You have to have it. I mean, we've all experienced ourselves with that stuff, and, we have a love-hate relationship with it. We'll just say that.
Well, and where I was going with this is that, on one hand, look, we're talking about mold in a basement. Really, how hard is this to fix? And I will shoot myself in the foot here intentionally. I was sandbagging a little. I'm going to go downstairs with a box of Clorox, and I'm going to squirt this, right? Clorox is primarily water. I'm trying to keep the water down. So as soon as I kill it, it's going to come right back. I just gave it more media. Is that correct?
Yes. So anytime it'll go away, but it'll come back. That's just an old, I guess I'd say a wise tale.
Mm-hmm.
But no, sir, it does not work. We use stuff called BioEsk is our first line. I guess our first spray we use, and what it is, it's a plant-based formula, but it was got real heavy during COVID, and but it does a great job on disinfectants and sterilizing the small stuff. But when it comes to the heavier duty stuff, we use this stuff called serum. And serum is a hydrogen peroxide based formula, and it will absolutely attack. Now, like I said, but in the process of mold, you gotta HEPA-vac it first. You gotta suck those spore heads up, then you spray it. Because if you don't suck the spore heads up, they're just going to sit there, and they'll just stay dormant. They'll just go dormant
until they get more than 50% humidity for a while.
Yeah, and it might pop back up. So what we like to do is we HEPA-vac everything, and then we spray it, and then you have no issues.
You know, it's funny to me, and I'm kind of backdooring this. I mean, I understand to some degree what some of the things you do, but it dawns on me now as we're having this conversation, everything affects something else. The next thing you know, then you've got those mold spores in your HVAC system, and they're more than happy to live there and grow, right? And I'm assuming
spread all over your house.
Do y'all do HVAC vacuuming and cleaning? Or?
Yes, sir. We do air duct cleaning. We call air duct cleaning. We can clean the galvanized ducts as well as the flex ducts.
Well, and let me introduce just for a minute. The reason that I even ran into you guys is because as president of the THA, the Town Homeowners Association, you guys had called and said, hey, can we go across the crawl space across in a quad, a unit that has 4 homes in it? Can we go across the quad space? I'm like, I can't give you permission to that. I don't own that. But it would have been nonsense, been nonsense for you to have tried to clean the mold in one of those places, knowing that it's open air to the rest of them and it's just going to come right back, right?
Absolutely. So normally in a crawl space, if it's a lot of mold, we try to treat the entire area. Now, if it's a little bit of mold or something like that, we HEPA-vac and then we spray. If it's just like a little bit, it's one thing. But when it's a lot down there, you got to basically treat the whole area because it's spread so far, you don't know how far everything else is going to spread.
Oh, well, of course, that makes sense.
So what we like to do is we, like I said, Steele and I, we've done it multiple times together in some pretty narrow crawl spaces, but you got to go in there and you got to, put a little elbow grease on some of that stuff sometimes, and you got to just get down and dirty.
So let me get this straight. That Steele's into the job. Is that right? The elbow grease thing?
Sometimes, I like to be more of a more of a cheerleader to them sometimes.
Yeah, you can do it, buddy. You can do it. Oh, yeah. You're little. You can get up in there. Well, I heard that when I was young. Yeah, you're little. You can get up in there.
Yeah, you got to earn your stripes. Got to earn your stripes.
Well, let me ask you another thing. So I'm beginning to see how all this can come together, and it makes a lot of sense. So this morning we were hoping to record a little earlier and didn't get to, no problem. But you had water damage at one of the houses that you went to.
Yes.
I can see with your full complement of products that you use and services that you can do, I can see how going to do a simple water restoration or a water restoration cleanup can turn into, okay, we're going to make sure you don't have mold coming out of this, and we're going to make sure this doesn't go into something worse. Can you tell me more about that particular job to give an example for people? So
what happened was a hot water heater busted, and it happens all the time. Hot water heaters, they just tend to splash everywhere. So what happens is this water comes all over the floor. Okay, well, you got to see what's going on there, and we're an emergency service company. So I mean, this is an emergency. We're like a first responder, but for the house. Okay, so say for instance you have a water loss at your house, or just in general. Say for instance you're gone on a Friday and you get back Monday and you see and you're like, oh my gosh, I got tons of water everywhere. You got to call a plumber up. The plumber identifies as a leak. It was a water supply line underneath your cabinets. Well, we have to get out there and we have to assess the damage, and we have to find our dry points. Then we have to start removing stuff. We have to talk to the insurance companies, because you have a big problem. You have to take up floors. Well, while that water's sitting there, if it's been hot outside, I mean, it can start forming mold. That water gets trapped up under there, because anytime if you have mold, you have a water source of some sort, whether it's a lot of humidity, a lot of moisture in the air, whatever. Anytime you have mold, there's because of a water source. There's the only way it can be treated.
You're saying over a 3-day weekend or so, That what
And a little
mold
bit
could
can
already be
start.
forming?
You could have it. It could spore up. It could spore up on you real quick. You just never know, especially as humid it is as in Arkansas and the weather changes so much. It can just spore up real fast. Well, with the water loss, you run into those types of issues. So what we do is we like to spray after we get the mess cleaned up and everything. We spray antimicrobial on the surfaces of what we're doing just to make sure some type of like a preventative. Because because a lot of times what happens is with mold, right? A lot of insurance companies don't cover mold, so a lot of times it's a self-pay deal. And so what we got to try to do is try to prevent that after that, because you can dry it out. That's what all this water mitigation is for. Is we dry out the subfloors, we dry out the wood, we remove anything possible of being able to hold moisture the best we can, and then we dry it out. Then we spray it down. Well, after we spray it down, we can just hope that we don't have to see any mold occur because everything's dry.
So the insurance companies don't see mold as a valid claim. Do they call it maintenance or what?
Mold is like you wouldn't. There's certain words you wouldn't say in church, and there's certain words you don't say to an insurance company, and mold is one of them.
You just don't say that.
Yeah, you just gotta walk around it. I mean, if it's a little bit there already, it's not a big deal for us. You're gonna see it happen, and you can't get greedy. We're a very fair company, and we like to take care of the customers the best that we can.
Well, and let me get this straight. So in my mind, I can imagine, I'm just hypothetical, I can see that in the kitchen somewhere, there had been maybe a super tiny leak and a refrigerator line, freezer, water ice maker line. And it had dropped one drop for a month for the last 48 months. And there might be a little spot that might have a little bit of mold. Well, now we have a flood and we have plenty of water for this media, right? And it's already been sitting there waiting to go. And now we have a damp condition and it's got perfect environment. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the goal is you have to get that stuff taken care of immediately, because the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
What's the level that you guys would go to? And I appreciate your time. I'm just trying to be considerate here. So we know we go from the little water leaks to the big water leaks. And by the way, people, code these days for a hot water heater, code says there's a drip pan underneath that hot water heater that runs outside, right, gentlemen?
That's right.
But that's, homes built in the last 50 years don't necessarily have that. But all that to say, I'm sorry.
You can't help that. All these older homes, it is what it is. I mean, if everything was brought to code immediately, you're talking about billions of dollars out there in these homes,
if not a whole lot more. But I get your point. So we're going from the little bitty stuff, a little bit of mold on the downstairs floor, to what's the bigger jobs how big do you want to get?
Well, we've got a prison that we're actually put a bid on in Beaumont, Texas. So we've actually worked with the U.S. Coast Guard and went down to Greenville, Mississippi, and did a river run boat for them about a month and a half ago. And so they had a mold, 1,650 square foot of mold in one of their ships. And Jake and Jake's the owner of the company, him and I went down there and remediated the mold.
Oh, remediated the mold. You make it sound so sanitary and easy.
Well, I tell you what, when you've done something, when you've seen a lot of it and you've done it a lot, it's just second nature. It's kind of like watching one of those DIY guys on YouTube. Man, they make it look so smooth and easy. Then you go out and try it your first time and just, oh my gosh.
No. They make it look easy because they got to wrap it up in 30 minutes plus commercials. Hello.
Yeah. Exactly.
Through the magic of editing, that's all we got to do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Wow.
But we did it for the U.S. Coast Guard, and we're starting to branch out to that. We've got it's more or less like a government contract, and we like to do that type of stuff.
Wow.
So we've experienced big mold jobs, and we experienced little mold jobs. But at the end of the day, it's all about taking care of the mold, taking care of the customer. It don't matter. I
appreciate it. Hey, hang on just one sec. So you were telling me there's something about Arkansas money in politics. So you guys got an award?
Yes, sir. We were voted one of the best, the best restoration company in the state of Arkansas. Water, fire, mold, contents. That's our main gig.
Wow.
That's our main way of doing business.
So something you're pretty proud of, I can only imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. It makes you feel real good whenever you feel like you've done a good job.
I bet it
you
does. So you've got Hot Springs, Little Rock, and surrounding areas, which there's a lot of surrounding areas. But where's home base? Where's your location?
We are actually off of 70 in Cutter, right off the freeway.
Yeah.
So Hot Springs, Arkansas is where we're at. But we are literally right off the freeway.
So you're telling me now, you didn't say Cutter Morningstar, you said Cutter. Okay.
Yes. Well, yeah,
So-
we're Cutter Morningstar.
So you tell me, it sounds like you're in downtown Cutter, not the burbs. I mean, you're right downtown Cutter, right?
Well, you could say downtown Cutter. I mean, that's a vague term, but I can see it getting thrown around.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah. But we are extremely close to the new highway that was just put in to go to Hot Springs Village.
But it sounds like you're right there at the bypass, actually.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it probably not having to go through the gorge cut our time going there about 25 minutes. 20 minutes.
I bet. Well, and the best way to get a hold of you guys is 501-441-4087. 501-441-4087. I say that because I know we're also going to be cutting this for the radio, and people won't be able to see the website as you're listening on the podcast. Man, it's been great having you guys, and honestly, respect your company. Sounds like you guys are really rocking and doing great.
Absolutely. We are pounding the pavement is what I like to say.
Well, I'll tell you what, come back and visit with us on Hot Springs Village Inside Out. I promise you we can help move that, pound that pavement for you. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That sounds great.
Bodie, Steele, we appreciate your time. We'll get this out for you soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching and listening to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast starring Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com.